Well, right here we've got a perfect example of false advertising, because in this issue we don't get this, and we don't get this, and we don't get this. Why you lying, Marvel? Howdy, I'm Kurt Williams, and today we're looking at issue 2 of Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathon Hickman and Marco Checchetto. This series has been selling like crazy, everybody's in love with it, and I've been so far a little bit unimpressed, but I think that it did pick up in issue 2. I liked issue 2 more than I liked issue 1. And if you're not familiar with what's happening in the series, I'll just read you the little blurb at the beginning of the issue. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. In a quest to free the world from the Maker's Council, Tony Stark sent Peter, now a married father of 2, a package containing the same radioactive spider and a Picotech suit. After watching his uncle Ben Parker and mentor J. Jonah Jameson leave the Daily Bugle over pressure from the Bugle's owner, Wilson Fisk, to control the news cycle, Peter felt called to action and let the spider bite him. And all that stuff about the Maker is accurate, but I don't think that the call to action is all that accurate, honestly. Because other than what Tony Stark has told Peter Parker in a hologram message about the world, Peter has no idea what to fix about the world. He doesn't see any wrongs in the world that he's especially compelled to right. He's a family man who's just trying to have a good career and take care of his family. So yes, he has this emptiness inside him. He knows that something is missing because he's not Spider-Man, but there's no sense of responsibility or making up for past mistakes when he becomes Spider-Man. It's just, what do I do now? And that is similar to the classic comics, because Spider-Man has always been compelled to be the best person he can be, not necessarily fix something that's wrong with the world. He has this guilt and responsibility that makes him think he needs to go and do something good, but he's fine with just reacting to whatever is in front of him that could be a chance for him to do something good. He's not going out trying to solve a certain problem. But the main difference between main canon Spider-Man and this series so far is that he doesn't have that sense of responsibility. He doesn't feel like he owes the world anything. He's just kind of having fun with these new powers that he got all of a sudden. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing, and I have a hunch that they're going to teach him responsibility soon enough. But my overall point is that I don't think this summary in the issue itself is accurate. He didn't really feel called to action. He was just thrust into action. So in this issue we get to see him going around in his little Picotech suit, which looks like the symbiote costume but doesn't have any symbols on it. He's testing his boundaries, being a scientist about his abilities, seeing what he can and can't do. He's not automatically amazing in all the acrobatic stuff, which I think is really refreshing. It's nice to see him being like a 30-something-year-old dad figuring out how to do all this crazy stuff. We have a couple run-ins with this new version of the Shocker, and I think the dialogue in these scenes is pretty good. They were some of the high points of the issue. One of his kids finds out that he's Spider-Man in this issue. We find out that the Kingpin is under the control of somebody from the Maker's Council. And we've got Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson in the sauna together giving us a whole bunch of heavy exposition. They spend a lot of time talking about the new Green Goblin who is repeatedly trying to kill the Kingpin like 3 or 4 times now. But this one panel is the only time we ever see him in the issue, and he's just lurking in full costume, getting fully dressed up so he can go and watch people, I guess. So what I like about the issue is that we have plenty of time to see Peter Parker figuring out how to be Spider-Man, which is one of the most charming parts of Spider-Man as a whole. He's really smart, but also kind of clueless, and that's a really fun blend for a character. In the first issue, we had to deal with setting up the universe, and there were a lot of details and a lot of characters to cover, so it just kind of felt like it was a bunch of exposition and setting the stage. Now, in the second issue, we finally get to enjoy the story itself. So the scenes where he's figuring out how to be Spider-Man have great dialogue, they've got great action shots, the art is really just stupendous. The rest of the issue is okay. Admittedly, I'm not loving the J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker chemistry they've got. I just don't love the characters. It feels like Uncle Ben is too mean and J. Jonah Jameson is too nice. But if I may make a prediction, I wouldn't be too surprised if Uncle Ben gets killed off just as he's about to expose the Maker, and then J. Jonah Jameson takes over the paper himself and feels the need to get things done for the sake of his friend's memory, and that's when he becomes a bit meaner because he's got something to prove. And that would also be when Spider-Man learns responsibility and he starts feeling actually compelled to right some wrongs in the world. Or they might not do any of that, and it just might be totally different versions of these characters forever. I'm also not in love with MJ yet. She's supposed to be really likable. I think she just hasn't had her time to shine yet. Eventually, I think we're gonna fall more in love with her. Something I complained about in the first issue was that Hickman was not doing a good job of writing normal children. And in this issue, the children dialogue is definitely better. I think that the young girl is a little too articulate for her age, but I'll let it slide. So from the writing side of things, this is a great step in the right direction, and I hope it keeps going in that direction. I don't think I'm as curious about who the new Green Goblin is as they want me to be, but I'm a little interested. He hasn't done anything except try to assassinate a known villain, which seems like just regular guy things to do, honestly. From the art side of things, I did like this issue more than the first issue, mostly because it has a lot of good action shots. Like this first page, I open it up and we get the great Statue of Liberty shot and the Empire State Building, and then this really great Spider-Man action shot. That's just a great opening page. This page where he smashes into a water tower and then he's getting drenched by it afterwards looks really good. I love the way that he's drawing the droplets of water on his black costume. I also like the choice to make his webbing white. It has a really great contrast against his black costume and it stands out. It's not just line work, it has its own unique style for this series. Another time they should have done that is when he falls into a dumpster like this and they have lines around every single piece of paper or debris or whatever that comes flying out of that dumpster. And because they all have those thick lines around them, it looks like it's computer generated art. It doesn't look like an organic portrayal of three-dimensional objects flying out of another object. He does it again with all the debris in this shot. Maybe it's a stylistic choice, but I just don't like that choice. Something that I do really appreciate about Checchetto's art is that he doesn't just leave every single sign up to the letterer. It looks like he drew all the labeling on this carton of vanilla ice cream. And it also looks like he drew a bunch of the signs on these dumpsters. A lot of times artists will leave that kind of thing up to the letterer, and then the letterer doesn't share the same vision and it just looks non-cohesive. So anyway, I think that Checchetto made a good choice by doing that himself. I also really like this shot of a giant angel statue. That's a very Marvel Knights looking kind of panel. Very well done. So like I said, this is a great step in the right direction. If I had to only read one title from Marvel, it wouldn't be this one, it would probably be Avengers Twilight, but this is still pretty good. I don't remember what I rated the first issue, but issue 2 here I think is a high 7, low 8 out of 10. Not bad. Getting better. I absolutely recommend buying it for yourself. If they're totally out of it at your local comic store, just ask for a second printing. They're probably going to make 3 or 4 printings of this issue. And if you read it, what do you think?